So it's heating season, and you notice that your boiler isn't running as efficiently as it used to. Now, you paid a lot of money for this 93% efficient boiler, and you're expecting to get a little more out of it than what it's producing. Maybe it's running too long, or you just noticed that the exhaust is running a little too hot. The reason why this is happening is because there's either magnesium or calcium deposits or some sort of insulator that's wrapped around your boiler tubes that's causing the water to be insulated from the fire. So to get rid of this, you need only a few items and about 2 hours. So first, we're going to need vinegar. This is regular white vinegar. This is a gallon. You're going to need a good pump, and my pump came with a hose and a foot valve. So this is the hose and foot valve, and this is the pump. So just one of these. They come from Amazon. I'll link in the description the one I have. Washing machine hoses. Now, the difference between a washing machine hose and a regular hose is that they're double female, because the pump is male on both sides, and the pipe that you're going to be hooking your boiler that you're going to be hooking the pump up to is also male. So make sure both ends are female and they have good rubber gaskets in them. And a bucket. That's pretty much all the things you're going to need. Make sure the bucket's clean, and that's it. So let's get started. Okay, so here I am down in the boiler room. There's a couple things to take note before you start this. You want to kill the power on the boiler itself to make sure it hasn't run in a while, because you don't want hot water to then just be introduced with regular tap water right away, because thermal expansion, or what they call thermal shock, might crack pipes or something. So just turn it off and leave it for a little bit. Okay, now that that caveat's out of the way, we're going to take off the front. You don't have to do this part, but it helps me explain some things. So over to the side. So here's your boiler. Now this, you'll see a silver, on my model I have a Lennox, but a lot of these will be the same if you have a high efficiency boiler. You're going to see a cylinder. This right here is where the fire meets the water. Well, the fire meets the water tubes. The water will be inside the tubes. The fire will be on the outside. This is what you have to clean out, because inside the tubes they get clogged with mineral deposits and things like that, and make it so that there's less water and that they'll insulate things. What we talked about earlier. So the next thing we're going to want to do is make up our solution. So I got this white vinegar. So you want to remove the cap and just dump it right into your bucket. Now this bucket has to be at least, I'm going to say 3 gallons, because we're going to use 1 gallon of water and 1 gallon of vinegar. So I just add your gallon of vinegar. Then we're going to refill this with water, and then dump a gallon of water in here. And here's our gallon of water. Alright, so it's 50-50 mix. Now you want to identify your taps and your valves. So right here is the inlet valve. So this goes up into your boiler. This is like your access point, and here's your valve. So you want to valve this off. This isolates half of your boiler from the system going in, and this is this is your one valve. On mine, because I have so many zones, I'm going to try to hold this as steady as possible. I have to isolate multiple valves. So here, 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 and here. And here is my supply tap. So we're going to take these off and we're going to hook hoses up to them. Alright, starting on the supply side or your outlet, I take one hose end, I hook it up to the tap, and I put it directly into the bucket. Eventually. There we go. And end up bringing the bucket closer once everything's explained. Now on the supply side, oh good, you can see it perfectly. Supply side, we're going to again hook this up to the tap. And on this one, this is where the washing machine hose comes in handy. We're going to, let's take this out for a second. On your pump, you'll see an arrow. So you want the arrow's going this way. So you want this hooked up to your outlet. So we're just going to hook this up to here. And then this can just hang right. Now I hang it on the inside of the container, so that I'm able, so if there is a leak or anything, it just still spills into the container. So you have this. Then all that's left to hook up is the foot valve. The hose going into your pump. Now I notice on mine at least it says self-priming, but I could never get it to self-prime. So you kind of have to let a little water run into the pump. I'll show that in a minute. But this just goes directly into the. Make sure this is submerged now. The foot valve, the foot filter. Keep calling it foot valve. And goes into your inlet port of your pump, so where the arrow is not facing. Alright, we're set. The setup is complete. Now again, we just have to make sure that the heat exchanger is cold to the touch, and we have to make sure that the that we prime our pumps, and after that we just run it for I guess 45 minutes. You're going to notice the water's going to turn colors a little bit. It's going to get cloudy. That's a good sign. Our water mix. But we'll get to that. Okay, sorry about that. We're going to have to take a little step back. We're going to take the hose off of the boiler itself, the supply side, or the inlet. Now I have just a little garden hose I made up. Now there's water on the other side of this. To prime a pump, all we're going to do is we're going to hook this hose to here, turn on the water valve, and as soon as we see water flowing through and the air bubbles stop, hopefully you can see that there's water bubbles. Come on, you. soon as these water bubbles stop, we know we're in business. Yeah, that should be good. I don't want to go too crazy. Okay. So now we're going to say the pump is primed. And we're going to go back, valve this off, remove this, and put it back on our inlet or supply side. We're going to open up the valves to these guys. So right here, that's one. And you want to open up all the way. If you crack them, sometimes they'll leak a little bit. So one here, and one here. Remember, one of these guys leaking. Again, you want to make sure your other hose is inside the bucket. Bring the bucket closer now that we don't have to worry about showing you guys stuff. Okay. Now all that's left to do, now that this is reasonably cold to the touch, I'm not, you know, I can rest my hands on here. It's a little warm, but it's not too crazy. We got our setup going. Now we're ready to turn on the pump. So I will just take this, plug it in. Now look at that. That's showing you that the pump is pumping water into the boiler. It's coming around. We're going to leave this go for a little bit, and let's say about 45 minutes. And then by the time we get back, this water will be a different color, and we're done. We just have to unhook everything, we'll be all set. So, I'll see you soon. Okay. So, this ran for an hour. I'll show you the inside of the bucket. Now, I do this quite often, so there's not much to that gets removed. But this was a clean bucket. You can see all the deposits around. Camera's not really picking up as much, but it's a little discolored, and there's granules all on the inside. So this is a fairly new unit, so this helps. But all those were on the heating surfaces, along the heating surfaces, and eventually would have acted as an insulator, so that the heat couldn't transfer properly. I also, since then, I've moved the pump to the outside just in case it fell in. I didn't want that to happen, even though there is a GFI that is hooked up to. And I ended up having to reprime the pump. To do that, I took this hose and I hooked that up. I hooked the hose from here up to my water hose, and went it through that way. And then right after I disconnected, I hooked everything back up, and it ran. The pump primed a lot easier. So again, we're just gonna make sure these are tight. I'm gonna open the valves. Make sure that this is open. You're gonna have something like this. This is an air purge, so that it gets all the air out of the system. And after that, closed, open, open, closed. We're just going to turn on our unit. It's going to probably kick on for a couple seconds. Other things you want to look for, water around the outside of the gaskets here and here. This is where it could possibly leak. Any water damage along the bottom or leakage. Other than that, that's it. It'll go through its thing. I'm going to disconnect everything and we're good for another year. Alright. Oh, on the newer ones, you may want to dump some water down here just to make sure that this pump runs. All through this summer, we have this hooked up to our water heater, so this pump gets a little works on a regular basis. But basically, these are so efficient that the heat actually, the exhaust actually condensates because it's, you know, very close to the exhaust is very close to dew point. So you get acid that goes into acidic water that goes into this pump, and that just gets pumped out. So you want to make sure that operates properly. But other than that, that's it. I hope you find this useful, and yeah, thanks for watching. Okay, one last thing. At least this is going on with my boiler. Right here is your low water cutoff. It measures to make sure that your boiler has water to it. I guess when I was purging the system, some air got in. So to get rid of that, and so it runs, because say this was lit at the time. Make sure this is open. So this is one of your air purges. Up here is another air purge. This stays closed. You just open that up a little bit just to make sure every once in a while. So you turn this, there's like a black knob. But what you're going to want to do is with the unit off. So you switch the unit off. You go to your thermostat. You raise your thermostat to make sure it calls. So like 85 degrees, say. And then turn the unit on. That'll get the internal pumps running and some other, you know, in my case, the house loop running. So I know that the house, so that this pump works, but it also has enough water circulation that it pushes all the air out, and that clears this. So you want to make sure that works. And that's about it. Everything's running fine now. You can see there's no leaks. It's nice and quiet. There's your air intake. Usually it takes from outside air from here. Right now it's taken from there. And that's about it. Alright. Good luck. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.